Yes.
All of us. Amio is in office, so there is no problem. I am at home. So
Yeah, no worries, sir. Maybe you can, if there is some place wherein only wall can be there at the back, and
yeah,
you can be there in the front, and a little more adjusted. Maybe the screen can be pulled forward, because I can see your roof as well as the light. Because of that light, the reflection,
right, right.
you are not much visible.
So should I switch off my lights?
Uh,
Because the
maybe, maybe, maybe you can adjust the screen.
Yeah,
okay, okay, अच्छा,
that would
That will be helpful. सर
actually
थोड़ा सा स्क्रीन को बस आगे एक बार स्लाइड करके देखें हाँ जस्ट लाइक दिस हाँ
yeah. Now I am. I think I just put switch off that light actually. That
ओके
light, right? I think that will be better.
the light in my video is fine now, right?
यस यस सर आई थिंक behind you. Okay, sir. So sir, it's already 6 o'clock. I think Sarthak will tell us then when we are going to start and we are going to broadcast.
Yeah.
Sarthak, I think it's 6 o'clock. Let us start.
Yes, we'll be live in next 10 seconds, sir. So now on, I and Kajol will be on mute.
Yeah.
And you will see the number rising in the participant section from 6 to up at 10, 20, 30, 50.
Right.
Then you can start after 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Sir.
And if you find any disturbance in your environment, maybe somebody is crossing from the behind, then you can put your video on off. Right? Okay.
I think we are live, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So very good afternoon to all of you, the participants, and also the panelists. Today we'll be discussing about the effect of the disruptions on the education, technical education, as well as on the industry and its employment. With me, there are panelists from the UPS as well as panelists from the industry. We have got two alumni. Mr. Ankur Dubey is from the Smart Joules. Mr. Abhijit Kumar Singh, he is from Sparrow Systems. And industry expert, Mr. Amio Das, is from Next First Engineering Technologies, Bangalore. Together, all four of us will be taking you through this session on the effect of the disruptions, technological as well as natural disruptions on the technical education as well as on the industry and its employment. To start with, let me give you a very brief introduction what we shall be actually discussing about. This first is the disruption number one, the pandemic. The pandemic or the COVID-19 crisis that we are having right now. What will be the effect of this pandemic or COVID-19? What are the likely effects on the technological education as a whole and technological education in particular? And then we shall see what will be the effect of this COVID also on the employment scenario and as well as on the industry in general. And then we shall discuss about the Industrial Revolution 4 or the technological disruptions that is also happening around us. We are at the cusp of Industry Revolution 4 or what we call Industry 4.0. And what are these effects? What are the effects of these industrial disruptions on the technical education once again, in particular, and education in general, and also its effect on the employment and the industry in general. So as we know that the pandemic or disruption has transformed the country's the old teaching methods like the chalk and talk methods, and in fact has is now more on how they embrace the technology in teaching. The chalk and talk method of teaching, I think, is going to be less right now or less relevant right now, and we have to embrace technology in teaching. That is number one. And the mobile internet that we have right now, I think it is going to be around 85. It will reach around 85% of the household by 2024. So by this statistics, what we see that most of the households in India will be able to get the benefit of the online teaching or the e-learnings that we have put into this one. So if we see that what we need to do is the seamless integration of the technology along with our traditional teaching. That is the need of the hour right now because of the COVID-19 crisis. And also the technological disruptions that is occurring around us, like for example, the artificial intelligence or machine learning, and also the augmented reality and virtual reality. The use of those technologies will be more and more in education right now, right? Whether it is in technical education or education in general, there will be more and more use of these technologies. So first, let us with this introduction, let us start discussing about what will be the likely scenarios in the technical education in particular and education in general, the effect of this the different disruptions. And I will first invite Mr. Omio, the industrial expert, to throw some light on this aspect of effect of COVID-19 or this disruption on the technological education in particular.
Hello all, this is Amir Sagar Das. I work at Nextburst Engineering Technologies. It's been 5 years in this automation industry, and I graduated from UPS itself in 2015 as Masters in Robotics. As sir asked, what was the effect of COVID-19 on technical education, right? So basically, it has, as sir already has said, that things have started shifting from chalk and talk methods, and things have come more towards the digital area. But there have been like disruptions, like it was frankly speaking, for people, for students mostly, it has been much more stressful than before, because it is much more like a psychological thing for them than a physical stress or something. It is much more psychological. This, I read an article somewhere, the attention span of the people, the students have reduced because of the digital platform. But this has also given a it has also have some positive areas, like it has increased the audience. Means what you can say, it can be both suppose the teachers, they can record their own lectures and submit it, and the student has the liberty and the flexibility of the videos to go through it and learn more, and means learn in a better way, and learn means if he or she has any doubts, it can go through those and those things again, and means they can they will have means if any doubt comes, they can interact again with the teachers on a digital platform. So, and similarly, the assignments and all those things the teacher can also assign to the students on. So this platform was now it has gone, has become a need of our now because of this COVID-19. And yeah, sir has already given the most basic things, what it has done to us in this time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Omio. Actually, basically, what Mr. Omio was telling is that there will be now the new reality is the online teaching.
Yeah.
The e-learnings and the online teaching. Online teaching will be obviously having two components: the synchronous component and asynchronous component. The synchronous component is almost the same as of face-to-face interaction, but asynchronous teaching will be having different components, including experiential learning, project-based learning, So our learning that we had before this COVID-19 or technological disruptions, that was more or less on the chalk and talk basis, because teacher used to come and then used to explain what will be a particular topic, and people used to ask questions and then get those doubts cleared. But however, right now, because we cannot have face-to-face interactions in most of the cases, and we do not know what time we'll be actually having next face-to-face interaction. So the online mode will be the way to go in the next, even in the next semester also. So those students who are aspiring for the technological education, to pursue that technological education, they have to get their mindsets right, or in the way that they will have to go for online technical educations. And let me just add on that part, that our UPS, the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, I think is one of the very few universities which have adopted it very well, even in the last semester. Even in the month of March, it was in the mid of the semester that this COVID disruption has occurred. And our university has seamlessly transformed, because we are already having this kind of online teaching before also, which is called hybrid blended online teaching. In some part we used to do face-to-face and some part in online mode for some of the courses. So because we had experience, and we also were very experienced in the platform, some of the online platforms like Blackboard, learning management systems. So because of that, we could easily seamlessly transform from face-to-face teaching to the online teaching. And that will be the phase of the teaching in the coming days or in the coming months also. Maybe even in this whole year, there will be only the online teaching that might be possible. So Mr. Ankur, now coming back to you, can you share some experience on that you had in UPS while dealing with such kind of disruptions? Not COVID-19, because when you were there in our UPS, that COVID-19 disruption was not there. However, you can share some of your experience that we actually do in a UPS differently from others in order to cater for this kind of disruptions. What I mean to say is that the curriculum that we have in our EPS, the syllabus that we have in our EPS, that how it is more adaptable, more dynamic to suit all this kind of disruptions. Can you share some experience?
Yeah, so this is Ankur. So I work as an embedded systems engineer and Smart Joules Private Limited in Delhi. So I was in the UPS in the batch of 2014-18. So that time, I think the UPS has helped me a lot in the things of in the terms of projects. If I talk about, so the things, the projects, and every curriculum is managed in such a way that the tracking of everything can be done remotely as well. And the communication channel has been set up within the web mentors and everyone. And that actually facilitated at that time was very well, I think, Sushavan sir. We used to have some interaction. Actually, if I talk about the electronics, like if I was in electronics branch, so electronics needs some practical things to be done on hands-on. But since if we talk about the disruption at right now, so that has actually led a spike in electronics that the hands-on is not possible. Everything is to be done virtually. So during the college time, I remember we used to have some simulation software that were being taught to us. So I think the simulations are the best things that could be done by the students and everyone. That could leverage the gap between the synchronous and asynchronous education system. I think that would be better one. So simulation things I'll focus on more.
Mr. Ankur, what he was referring to is that although in the online teaching, the theory part we can take care of very easily by having the online platforms. Most challenges or most difficult things that will happen in online teaching is to the lab. For that, what we have is that we have something called virtual labs. The virtual labs are the actual labs where you can actually virtually simulate the experiments. You can do the experiments sitting at home, and any experiment that is we do hands-on, that can be done using the virtual lab as well. Although you won't be able to touch the instruments or get the feel of the instruments, right, that you used to do in a lab. But then virtual labs guides you and also teaches you how to do those, how to use those instruments, or how to do those experiments, how to record the results, what is the procedure for doing that, and what is the theory for doing that. So everything is well taken care of by the virtual labs. So even in this case also, when this semester we are facing these challenges, we have mapped each and every experiment of our department with the virtual labs. Virtual labs are available in the institutions like IITs. Most of the IITs have their virtual lab facility that they have made it open to everyone, and anyone can go in their labs in the IIT virtual labs, and they can do the experiments. The main thing is to map those experiments according to our own curriculum. So that is a thing that we have done, and we will continue to do so in the coming semester as well, most probably, because the face-to-face teaching obviously will be a challenge even in the coming semester, as I told you. So, Mr. Abhijit, coming back to you, let us start with you about the experience that you had in your department, electrical and electronics department, when you were studying here in 2014 to 18. You can briefly describe about that. First describe about yourself, and then describe some of the experiences that you had in UPS. Then you can dwell on the disruptions, into the industrial disruptions that we have right now. You understand the industrial disruptions that AI, IoT, self-driven cars, robotics, quantum computation, e-vehicles, smart grid. In electrical, there might be some more. So what will be the effect of those? You think you are also in the industry. So what will be the effect of those in the industry? What will be the effect of those in the employment per se? And what will be the effect of those in the industry as such?
Hello, good evening, sir. And this side of Jeet, I have done electrical engineering from University of Petroleum. I have the batch of 2014-18. So basically, the experience in UPS was extreme, and as Ankur told that we are having some simulation lab and we should proceed for the simulation lab. So in electrical department, we were having a simulation where we are going for the SCADA designing, and we were in during my engineering, I have a great opportunity to work with one of the profound lecturer, and he was also called to university for SCADA training during the Magar. We were having a SCADA training for that, and that means for that only I got a great opportunity to work in Sparrow. And basically, I work in Sparrow on the software called ETAP. That is totally simulation software, where I have to deal with power system study simulation. And there in UPS, the basic I will say that today in industry, the disruption due to COVID is there is a lot. We can say that there are many negative that COVID-19 will cause many difficulties in the electrical industries and as well as electronics. But in the positive which we will get from the COVID, and as per my experience is that when we are reaching to the industry and when we are seeing the simulation, every industry, electrical as well as electronics, all are moving towards the simulation software. They are moving towards the Internet of Things and AI. And we were also recently, as our work is going on, so recently we were going for the energy maintenance. That maintenance information system is there. We were having a software. As I'm environment health safety, I'm working in environment health safety profession. So we were having developing a management information system, and then we are having a different industrialist, different plant manager experience. So on that basis, AI, that is artificial intelligence, was ranked out of 5. That was ranked 3.5. That they will have their implementation of AI in their plant. Out of 5, they will rate it 3.5. IoT, they will rate 3.78. Uh, MIS, they will rate web integrated system, they will rate to the plant 3.83. So when I will talk about the disruption, there will be disruption, but leaving the negative part, the possibility of the simulation software, the possibility of the artificial intelligence, IoT, and as India is very, I can say India is a developing country, and we are proceeding towards the safety issues because COVID. If I will see that environment, health, safety. So first of all, India is maximum concentrated, and all industry, all electrical industries are maximum concerned about the safety. So the COVID has given rank, if we will go to the rank preference and environment health safety. So the COVID has changed the preference from safety to health. We are now, every electrical industries are going to give the preference to health, first health. And as per the information that we are getting from the Indian Electric Board, health will be given priority of 62% and the safety will be given to the priority of 58. That is not, there is not much difference, but health will be given a great preference. And safety at all, we are giving, all the industrial experts are going to focus majorly on safety of the employees, safety of their electrical as well as constituent working on that. So UPS has given me the basis for the designing, and as I work in the lab, it means a lot to me. Working
Thank
with
you, Mr. Abhijit. Thank you, Mr. Abhijit. What he was trying to tell is that there is a COVID-19 crisis or disruptions, as well as there is a disruptions called technological disruptions. Both these will have a very, they will have some effects, some good effects, some bad effects on the employment, as well as on the industry itself. But what we have seen is that our industries, or all the industries that we have in our India, mostly they have adapted well for work from home. You people will be confirming that when you will get the opportunity to talk. But what I found out that most of them have adapted well. That's number one. Number two is that if you see the manufacturing and the infrastructure industry, the manufacturing industry and infrastructure industry has become a part of the information industry. The manufacturing industry and infrastructure industry has also become an information industry. So there is a big opportunity for the electronics engineers or IT engineers for even in the manufacturing and as well as the IT infrastructure industries. This is number one advantage. Secondly, because of this industrial revolution 4, the advent of AI, ML, IoT, self-driven car, if you can see that lower rungs of the technologies, there are technology is a ladder. All of you will be concurring with me. The technology is a ladder. There are some lower rung technologies, some middle rung technologies, and there are some higher rung technologies. Now, what happened before is that the developing countries like India were actually concentrating on the lower rung technologies because it was difficult for them to actually compete in the higher rung technologies, which are in the higher echelon of the ladder. Now, what happens is that because of these technological disruptions, the lower rung technologies get automated. You know, there will be lots of automations going on, and the automation will be mostly in the lower rung of technologies. And we can this AI, ML, or other technological disruptions can actually work as a springboard for these developing countries to go into the highest part of the ladder and actually compete on that. For example, quantum computation, nanotechnology, AI. If we use those technologies, and because of the advent of those technologies, we can actually now start working on the highest rung of the technologies and compete with the developed countries. We need not go through the step-by-step procedure of going to the highest level of technology. That is number two. Number three is that because of these disruptions, obviously there will be some, because of the automation, obviously, and IoTs and AI will make the thing, many of the lower end technologies will be automated, as I told you. Because of that, there will be some loss of jobs, but then somebody needs to do this AI, right? Somebody needs to write those AI algorithms or AI programs or the ML programs. ML algorithms has to be implemented. The IoT has to be implemented, right? And automation has to be done. Then those skill sets will now be essential for getting anyone a job in the industry. Industrial jobs will not be the way it used to be before these disruptions, like before the COVID disruptions or before the disruptions that is occurred through Industrial Revolution 4. So now the industry will be looking for those graduates who are now equipped with the skill set of the industrial disruptions that is occurring. If you see that because of this the COVID crisis also, that there are some industries which have closed down, but there are some industries have come up because to cope with this COVID-19. For example, the manufacturing of, say, the PPE kit, the manufacturing of the automatic dispenser kit, manufacturing of the smart dustbin, so where you don't need to touch those dustbins, and you can actually dustbin will be moving around, and you can collect the garbage from each of the houses. So there are many such innovations that is occurring, and because of these innovations, not only that the many more jobs will be created and are being created, there is a possibility of your building your startups. You patent your ideas, patent your products, and then you start your startups. So that way, we are having a lot of opportunities because of these disruptions, and of course there are a lot of challenges that is there because of these disruptions. So now, Amir, you are in the automation and robotics industry. How do you see these technological disruptions that is occurring around us? The disruptions that I have already spelled out.
Yes,
what do you think that how they are going to affect your industry or electronics industry or automation industry in general? What do you think should be the skill set of the students, those who are aspiring to become an engineer? What should be the skill set for those students that they should have or they must have in order to get a job?
Sir, let me tell you, before what used to happen, before this COVID-19 pandemic, there were like these ideas like ML, AI, or IoT. Those were the industry guys. What they used to see those as an what you say, as a luxury or an extra optional product. Means on the basis of when suppose Bajaj is buying a robot, so IoT used to be an option for them. Now what happened due to this COVID-19, the remote installation and the remote deployment of robots and remote deployment of these machines have started. So this has boosted, means this has given the IoT platform from just an option to a need of the hour. Now IoT IoT has become mandatory. Means you have to learn the techniques, those tools related to IoT, and then means how means, and the next big thing is coming, the cloud computing. The cloud computing when 5G, because Nokia is often nowadays are working on 5G technologies, and Nokia has already, I think, declared something about it. So the things are going on that way. People should must upgrade themselves from toward a higher means, what do you say, IoTs and IoT platforms, and apart from, they should have basics from what is taught in the colleges and everything. Apart from that, they should upgrade themselves mostly, because only the syllabus of a college can't give you all the edge. I think UPS has a very good syllabus and have a very good labs also. Because in my days, means 5 years back, I remember, means in 2013-14, we used to have a PLC lab. So that helped me a lot at that time of my career, and it is still helping me. So I think people should start from there and upgrade themselves to newer technologies. And AI ML is the next big thing, sir, as you already said all those things. So right now, people should see what are the things. I just gave an example of an IoT. That's it. Means and augmented reality is also a thing that is a guy can opt for and work on and do research on, because that gives us. I'll just give you an example. I'll just make you understand with an example. So there is a software called Emulate 3D of Rockwell. What it does, you can create a digital twin of the machine that you're going to deploy at a site. So you can do all the testings at in-house. You can use augmented reality, virtual reality also on that software, and it is like suppose a machine used to take for deployment, it used to take a month or so. Now it can be done within hours. So that has shift. The positive shift has come from this COVID-19. Means before it used to be an option. Means people used to think, means should we take that option or not? Because is it monetarily good for us, or it is viable or not? Now they're taking, okay, now we have to go in this way so that we will means constrain our losses, and we can deploy more and more projects and products in the factory. So IoT means the points you have already mentioned, sir. IoT, AI, ML, and augmented reality. These are 4 key things, and there are like a lot of courses which people should, means the students should means keep in mind and keep a point, and they should update themselves.
Okay, thank you, Amir. I think you have given a very insightful, very good insight on these disruptions, that effect of those disruptions on the industry as a whole, and the employment in general. So moving ahead, this what Amir was stressing upon, and I was also stressing upon, is that these disruptions are here to stay. Let me tell you that disruptions, that it's happened before also. Our industrial revolution is not the new one. We had industrial revolution 1, industrial revolution 2, industrial revolution 3, and now we are having industrial revolution 4. Even after industrial revolution 1 also, there were many people who lost jobs, many jobs were lost, but many more jobs were created. Similarly, for industrial revolution 2, industrial revolution 1 was also about steam, invention of steam as an automation tool. And then number 2, industrial revolution 2 was about electricity, and industrial revolution 3 was about the IT, information technology or computers. And industrial revolution 4 is actually different from the other 3, because industrial revolution 4 is an amalgamation of many technologies: AI, ML, self-driven car, blockchain, data analytics, and of course your what we call the machine learning and the deep learning is a part of that. So if you see, and not only that, there are even other disruptions also: quantum computations, then nanotechnology, then we are having e-vehicles that are coming up. This is another disruptions that is going to happen. So all those technologies, because the amalgamation of these technologies is making the life totally different from the way we used to see the life, way we used to see the industry as a whole. So now, what I was stressing upon was that the skill set required right now is not one. That one skill set will be enough for you. It is not that. Previously, during my time, you can say, when I became, when I was studying in the BTech, in my case, I think it was enough for me to get 4 to 5 skill set in the entire life to sustain. But now, after these disruptions have occurred, even now I have to start learning many more things, and now I have to equip myself with around 10 to 12 more skill sets in order to be relevant in today's world. So this is the world that you are going to face 4 years down the line or 10 years down the line. So for example, for your case, 4 years down the line or 10 years down the line, these technologies, the disruptive technologies, are going to stay, and you have to have your skill set on these technologies in order to be relevant in the industry. So whichever industry you are working on, whether it is an engineering industry or even with other industries also, or whatever you are actually working on, this disruptions is going to stay, and you have to have the skill set for that one. So now let us to moving ahead. Ankur, can you throw some light? I think you are working on the embedded system part in Smart Joules. Also, I think you are working on IoT. So can you say, can you just tell us and our viewers that what will be the effect of this IoT and AI? I think you are also working on AI a bit, AI and IoT and embedded system on the electronics industry. What do you see? What do you foresee 4 years down the line? What should be the students should be looking at when they will be looking for jobs in the industry?
Yeah, so continuing from your point, sir, like as per one stats, I'll share one stat of World Economic Forum. So it was mentioned that by 2022, over 40% of core skills required to perform existing jobs are expected to change. And by 2030, more than 1 billion people will need to be reskilled into the transformed jobs of the 4th industrial revolution, as we are talking about industry 4.0 these days. That's a very new term to be used for industry 4.0. So digital skills are something that are at the center of reskilling the revolution and undeniable prerequisite for the future workforce as well. So now also there is a focus on 5G technologies also. So the advent 5G's technology, IoT, and large-scale artificial intelligence are taking us to the new reality of real-time connectivity. So, as talking about the disruptions in the electronics field, today there is a huge disruption in manufacturing sector in these days. Manufacturing sector has been affected a lot by the coronavirus as it hit China. So these days there is a conversation around the idea of transitioning. I'll talk about a factory. So factory is transitioning to fully lights out factory. So what's the lights out factory? I'll tell that a fully automated factory is called the lights out factory. So that will be the, like, as we see the everywhere the automation is needed. That's why the embedded systems, IoT, and all the artificial intelligence, that won't be a unique and individual technologies that will be leading. They all has to be integrated in one. It's like we are talking about the artificial intelligence these days running on the edge, not just on the cloud. So the more and more strong hardwares are being developed, and more strong softwares to run on that are being developed. So these are leading to fourth industry revolution very much. So talking about some technologies, if I talk about, are like robotics, artificial intelligence. There are more breakthrough to nanotechnology as well, and 3D printing. So one example, if I'll share of a 3D printing, in Italy, what happened last month, there was a Venturi valve was needed. A Venturi valve is actually a intensive care device which was needed, and the contract was given to a bigger firm to develop it. But it couldn't develop. But a small 3D printing firm just came, they took their device there, and that they then and there printed the Venturi valve. Similarly, as we know that in this whole pandemic, the drones are used very much. The drones are used to monitor the hotspots areas, the containment zone. They are used to deliver the essential services to the places where the access of human is not allowed. And China has been using this since years, but I see that in India also it has been used very much. So concluding that the technologies of embedded systems, IoT, AI, all these are very much necessary to integrate it into a one system and leading to a system. Yeah.
Right. All right, Ankur. Thank you very much for giving so much details about the technologies. Moving ahead and to add on to what we have said, is that the 3D technology is a new technology which is making many things possible. Right. For example, prototyping has become very, very easy right now. And most of the prototyping that is being done is through the 3D technologies, right? So, and also the processing power of the processors that we are having right now, it has also increased by many folds. Now the edge devices, these edge devices also can actually run your network security algorithms, which was not possible even a few years back. Because of that, it is now possible to implement IoT not only in the some of the sectors which we have been already discussing. Even it can be possible to do it even in the sectors like power sectors, which I will be coming to Abhijit for that. But before that, let me tell you that this processing power has increased by manifold, and because of that, IoT is now a reality. IoT can be now used for even in the power sectors, even in the other sector, nuclear power. You just name a sector, everywhere the IoT can be used. And just you said that there is not a single technology that, and I also said that the single technology will be actually determined. It is a combination of the technologies. For example, we are going to have the self-driven car or driverless car. If we have a driverless cars, then the cars obviously will be fitted with the IoT devices first, right? Because it has to collect the sensory information from the other cars or other the human beings or any other thing that is around. So that will be having IoT devices. Now, if each car having IoT devices, there will be huge amount of data, sensory data available from each of these cars, right? And because of that, those data needs to be communicated from one car to the other car and from in between all the cars or among all the cars. Now, unless this data is actually, we do something on this data by using some algorithm. It might be ML, it might be DL, some data analytics algorithms. Unless we do that, there will be traffic volume will be very, very high. So you can see that if in order to make even a self-driven car possible, you need to have AI, you need to have ML, you need to have IoT, you need to have data analytics. So all those technologies is to be combined together or amalgamated together in order to make a thing happen. That's what Ankur was talking about when he was talking about. Now, Vijit, moving on, just can you throw some light on, say, the other disruptions that we have? We talked about the disruptions in the field of the quantum computation, nanotechnology, AI, ML, IoT. Those will be, of course, will be always there. But then these technologies also might be used for your some of the disruption that is occurring in the electrical field. For example, e-vehicle might be, right? E-vehicle or smart grid. Can you talk about the effect of those disruptions in e-vehicles, smart grid, or any other electrical sections that you can think of?
Yes, sir. I will just talk one case studies. Actually, we were have one. I have also gone through an intern, and actually I visited also that plant. That is
Please
Adani.
use your mic, sir. Please use your mic. You are not audible properly. Yeah.
That is, I will talk about a case studies that we have gone through on Vedanta Goa. So there basically that plant is approx 50 years that is plant is there, and recently they have gone through a simple short circuit in their PCC panels. So now the challenges and adding to Ankur that IoT and AI has a great impact, and they have a great impact in electronics industries, but it's slightly changing into electrical industry. IoT is having a great impact. They are coming for the plant protection, plant data analysis. They are providing the IoT concept is providing. And when we are talking for the electric vehicles, that is we were saying that is the future of India, that electric vehicles, and it will be added to the solar panels. And I will say that IoT is a great concern for different power industry. Vedanta recently in 2017, when in December they got a short circuit fault, and due to that the plant was shut down for 8 days and having a loss of 16 crore approx. So they recently implemented IoT concept. They switched to Siemens for their protection system, because safety is the major concern in every power plant if we will go for. And adding to you, if I will take to electrical point of view, then the thing which I can say, the concept which on electrical industries they are lagging is they are lagging the concept of PLC. They are lagging the concept of SCADA. Because when any industry, we will say that Vedanta, or we will take Reliance or Adani or Reliance, they both are implementing their protection by Siemens or ABB or Schneider Electric. And once the electrical engineers of ABB or Schneider Electric come and implement their protection mechanism, even the electrical engineer, even the senior electrical engineers of plant don't know how to implement, how to have the trip mechanism, how to set the trip mechanism. So for the coming engineers, electrical engineers and electronics engineers, the concept of PLC and SCADA will be also one of the additional. If they will have not only the basic of PLC and SCADA, even we can go for the advanced improvement in that. And when we are talking on the advancement that in electric vehicle, then power electronic drives is the major that will literally affect the electric vehicles. Having the basic knowledge of power electronics will severely affect all the electrical engineers to come and boost on the electric vehicles, because electric vehicles is totally basis on the power electronics. And adding to that, the IoT will having the knowledge of IoT in that will be the super for any electrical engineers in that. That will be great concern.
Thank you, Abhijit, for your insight on the electrical industry. To add to what you have said, the electrical vehicles, of course, is going to be the next generation vehicles, and it will be having a major disruptions once it actually starts. I mean, we start having those vehicles in the field. We have those vehicles, but right now, Abhijit, can you just touch upon? I just was thinking in the electrical vehicle side that we have a problem in charging those electrical vehicles, right?
Yes,
And also the expensive. Those vehicles are quite expensive in comparison to, say, a petrol car or a diesel car. So, what do you think that the new technologies that are coming up is going to solve these problems? How they are going to solve those problems?
Sir, actually, recently in Feb, we visited Hyderabad, and in India, Hyderabad is the first place where electric vehicles were installed, along with Bangalore. So there are major challenges because, first of all, the major challenge which India faces is the investment in electric vehicles, because investment in electrical vehicles is too concerned. People are major concern about the cost effective. It is not cost effective. It is very costly. But when we will see the long time backup of the electric vehicles, it is a great concern. And when I will talk, because I have done a great study on electric vehicles, so I am also basically I'm studying on power electronics drives, how we will combine the inverter with different conditions, and how we will regulate the battery concept with inverter to have the maximum charging, because all the concept is all are concerned about the charging concept, that the electric vehicles charging, how much the charging will be there. It is too cost. So we are basically working on, along with I am working on one of the project with IIT Delhi, and they are basically working on the increasing the charging capacity of the electric vehicles. So we are basically working on the inverter concept, and we are taking the biometrical concept of inverter, that we will how change the different analysis in that. We have done 83 case studies regarding different combination of inverter with choppers, and for battery, for enhancing the performance of battery. So in coming years, if because we are working, and if I will talk with the future engineers or the engineers recently we are having, if they will have some supreme knowledge of power electronics and different cases, if they will say that what is the different chopper condition, we will go what 120-degree, what 180-degree, then they will have a great future. And we are definitely working. In recent time, we will give a great charge. IIT Delhi will provide a comeback on that.
Thank you, Abhijit. Basically, that what we are looking at is that the future of electrical engineering will be the use of IoT in the power sector.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, obviously AI will be there everywhere. AI ML has to be used in every sector. Yeah. Then we also have e-vehicles, and then we also have got smart grids. So there are lots of opportunities in the field of electrical as well. And just to mention here that very few universities actually these particular specializations are offered in the field of electrical or electronics. To just mention a few, in electronics engineering, the BTech in electronics and communication engineering in UPS that we have got different tracks or different specializations we offer in the field of in the form of program electives. We have the track as artificial intelligence. We have got a track on IoT. We have got a track in data analytics. We have got a track in 5G. So these are the different tracks we offer, so that our students, after they pass out, they are already industry ready in this field. Because as I told you, that next generation jobs, 4 years down the line or maybe 10 years down the line, the people who has the skill set in these particular fields in the Industrial Revolution 4 only will be eligible for jobs. Similarly, for electrical, as I said, the e-vehicle, smart grid, IoT, and also some other disruptions that will be required for the electrical part. Now, quickly, we are running out of time. Amio, I wanted to know from you that in your industry, how are you using your automation? And there is a fear in many people's mind that automation will take away some of the jobs, right? So what is your idea? I think the automation is going to actually create more jobs than that it is taking away. Like in case of the computers, when we had the third industrial revolution, people said that computer will take away jobs. But what has happened is that computer has actually created more jobs than it has actually taken away. Similarly, I think the Industrial Revolution 4, the automations, robotics, all other disruptions that we have said, I think it is going to create more jobs. But only thing is that the jobs will be now available in different areas that we used to have earlier. Right?
Yes,
Amio, just
yes,
throw
sir.
some light on that. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So this has been like a talk like since like last decade that automation is going to be the main villain here, so that it will take jobs from people. the thing is, sir, it's like survival of fittest, and it will, as you said, sir, it will create more jobs than it takes. So yeah, it will create more jobs, and it has a great scope for the students who are like means approaching now towards for they're graduating the 12th standard right now. If the means robotics, automation, and this is the future. Means this has to and this the every developing country and all developed countries are going towards this path. Uh, so yeah, if there are any doubts that will automation create more jobs? Yeah, definitely it will create more jobs than it takes, because this it is just a layman's excuse that it will take more jobs, but I don't think because it will take it can create that much disruption as yeah, as you said, sir. Means you have cleared the point, sir. It will create more jobs than it takes.
What it will do is automation will take away some jobs in the lower rungs of the technology, as I already said. But at the higher end or higher end of the technologies or the middle end of the technologies, there will be more jobs available. So we'll be having actually more quality jobs than actually we were having before this disruptions. Actually.
Yes, sir. People who are students who are doing plus two, who have just graduated their plus two, they won't be opting for jobs like a sweeper. So means that's the thing. So yeah, if they are going for higher studies and they are opting for this robotics and automation in their as their career forward, then it is one of the best, and it has a scope of upgrading towards the industry 4.0 now, and maybe it will go upgrade itself more to 5.0 also in the future. So yeah.
Right. So basic idea is today's discussion that we had was to have a insight on the effect of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus that we have. What was the effect of that on the technical education in particular and the education in general? We have discussed about that, and we have seen that although there are challenges, but those challenges can be met, and there are many universities already have taken care of those challenges and are moving ahead. And we will be creating. They have created, or we have already created some of the environment or some of the tools or some of the setups, so that even the teaching that will happen after the COVID crisis or the online teaching, that might be even better than the offline teaching as such, because we'll be doing a lot of innovation in our teaching. In the innovation of the teaching, we have also said that the normal talk and talk teaching might be the case of yesteryears, and we might have to move on, and we'll be having online teaching with the help of the augmented reality and virtual reality, experiential learning, project-based learning, problem-based learning. So there are many other technologies, enabled tools, educational tools, pedagogical tools will be now available in order to make up for the offline classes that we used to have. So there will be some effect obviously will be there, but there will be every crisis actually is an opportunity. So those opportunities, this particular COVID crisis is also an opportunity, and this will transform the education totally. There is no doubt about it, and there will be a disruption there will be something called the teaching disruptions occurring across the world. That is number one that we have discussed. And number two, we have discussed the technological disruptions and COVID disruption, effect of COVID disruptions and technological disruptions on the employment and the industry as a whole. We have discussed the industry as a whole or in general, and also we have taken the examples of some electronics industry, some automation industry, some electrical industry in particular, and we have discussed in detail about the effect of those disruptions, technological and natural disruptions on that. With that, we come to the end of this discussion today. We'll take up some questions. I can see that there are some 8 questions are lining up. So let me see what are those questions, and then we will take up those questions one by one. The first question, I think, Kajol, can you answer that question? Kajol, are you there? Kajal or Sarthak, are you there?
Yes, sir, we'll take care of it.
Yeah, can you answer that question? Yeah. or do you want me to move ahead? Okay, let us take the second question. So please suggest few simulation websites, apps, which will help us teachers in teaching science. Who will take up? Amiyo or Ankur or Abhijit?
I think there are already apps, and the Zoom is already making a great impact. But there are like maybe some other like Microsoft Teams, I think. Um,
I'll add like simulation websites. Like if I talk about some teaching someone about the electronics and circuits and all, there is a website named Tinkercad. So that has a very good integration of all circuits and components to teach the simulation of all type of electronic circuits, whether it's high or low, whether it's basic of on basis of controllers or something. Tinkercad is one of them, and I'll add one more software, TeamViewer. Everyone must be knowing TeamViewer. So TeamViewer also has a facility of like AR. So they are currently working in the field of AR. They have launched something. So that could also be used if someone wants to teach something in a practical, doing at one place and broadcasting it on some other place. So these two are. So the question is general. So I'll answer like this one.
Yeah, Tinkercad is, I think, is an excellent website or simulation tools that we have. I think what he meant is that some simulation tools. If he is meaning simulation tools, there are lots of simulation tools are available. To teach science or technology, there are lots of. You can use the MATLAB. This is also very good simulation tools.
Sir, for any simulation tab, if we'll go for MATLAB or any, we can take PLCs, we can register with the student and we can get an access for that. So it is basically if
there are lots of
to learn anything.
Yeah, even there are open source software also. So yeah, there are many.
Just please name some open source software, Amir. So that we can help them out. Yeah.
For robotics, they can if they are going for robotics, they can opt for ROS. Means ROS is like open source. Just a second. And for MATLAB also there is an open source.
There is a Scilab. They can use Scilab for that.
Yeah, Scilab is there, and for MATLAB, if any student is there, then he can get the access for 3 months. Recently, due to coronavirus, they're extended. So 3 months, it's quite enough to learn the basis in MATLAB. If we will go for electrical, there are a lot. ETAP software also provide for 1 month. PLC for any Siemens and Schneider, they provide 1 month free access to any guys, so they can learn the basis from there.
Yeah, Octave is also one of the which is almost similar to MATLAB. So it is also freeware and it is also open source.
Right. So let us move on to the next question. Actually, somebody said, I am Varun. I am a 3-year degree student and I wanted to study automobile design. Is it good for me? I am very interested in design, but now I get to know about design colleges, their presence in. Yeah, there are a lot of design colleges are available. In UPS also, we have got a school of design. We have also, in automobile design, we have got some course in our mechanical department called automotive design engineering. So if you are interested in automobile design, I think you can opt for those automotive design engineering, or our design school has got the different types of designs that you are looking for. The next question I will take up, due to COVID-19 crisis, every engineering course is depending on computer knowledge than practical knowledge. How to deal with this problem? I think computer knowledge and practical knowledge, there is no difference as such. You have to do your practical through computer knowledge only. Most of the things are now computer driven. Most of the things are now processor driven. So knowledge of computers obviously will be required for your. And if you are talking about the practical knowledge of, say, the electronics or electrical or mechanical, those things will always be there. What I talked about in my when I was talking about is that there is something called virtual lab. In virtual lab, you can do it in the computer screen. Virtually any lab that is available right now, and you can do the experiments. But then you can always, after the COVID-19 crisis is over, after doing the virtual lab, because in virtual lab itself, you will be getting the knowledge of the hands-on, whatever hands-on you will be having if you do an experiment hands-on. But because of the COVID-19 crisis, obviously there will be lack of those opportunities to do the hands-on practicals going into a lab. But virtual lab, let me assure you, is as good as the lab that you can have in a face-to-face environment, right? Ankur, can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, so as coming on a practical knowledge, and if I talk about electronics, so electronics is something which could be always overloaded practical knowledge at your home also. As sir told about the virtual lab, so we can integrate, like we know there are some instruments known as oscilloscopes in which we see some graphs. So it's not necessary that you have the oscilloscopes at your home or you need it physically. The softwares are there, and for simulating circuits or something on hands, if you want to do some hands-on, so you can always order available kits available on the online websites. They have all the practice kits. They in that they have all the equipments, all the components which you need on the first hand to start something basic. So that could also be done, like something which is needed at college level. It's all available as kit, which can be purchased by students by their own and practice there.
Yeah, although we'll be going online, but as I said, there will be virtual labs, and this COVID crisis is not going to last for your entire life.
Yeah, exactly.
Today or tomorrow, the people will come to the campus and actually doing the labs. But before, even if they are not being able to come for a particular semester, the virtual labs are good enough. That will give you equal number of equal knowledge that you will be getting if you do it face to face or hands-on on the instrument itself. That is number one. And number two, as I said, that it is not going to last forever. So there will be some programs, some courses that will be happening in the campus itself. Now moving on, is online teaching learning degree and offline degree, both platform degree have same importance. See, online is only, we will be having online classes for this semester or might be in the next semester. If you are referring to totally online degree, that is a different thing. But with the courses that we are offered in most of the engineering colleges and of course the engineering colleges in UPS, it will be a blended thing, online hybrid blended online program. That means there will be some courses, some part will be online and some part will be offline, and they are as good as any offline degree. There is nothing called online degree and offline degree; both are equivalent, unless there are some universities who are actually going totally online about their program. That is a different thing. But what we are talking about is the bachelor's degree or the BTech in engineering or MTech in engineering. That will be a blended thing, online and offline, and it will be the degree is equivalent to any part of any degree of this one. After online bachelor's degree, I want to know the path for entry in PG programs. In PG programs entry, either reference will be given both as online or, as I said, online and offline. There are nothing called online offline. This is a blended one. So there will not be any problem for you whether you are getting a degree in a blended mode, because online is only, there will be a part of your curriculum which will be online, and it will not be that all the online courses will be online. If you are referring to the engineering courses that will be running in the next semester, if you are referring to that, if you are referring to something, some courses which are totally online even before the COVID crisis, that is a different thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the courses that will be run in the engineering colleges, like our EPS. That will be a blended mode, some online, some offline. Might be that till the COVID crisis it slows down, if the graph slows down or graph flattens out, there will be more online courses than offline courses. So in online teaching, the practical part, as I said, practical part will be provided through the VLabs. They said better opportunity for diploma in electrical student. Abhijit, can you answer that? What will be the opportunity for, very quickly, we are very running short of time.
So better opportunity for diploma student will be they can go for the industrial stand. They can go for industrial safety. They can go for diploma in industrial safety, because industrial is mainly 100 means 68% they are concerned in safety. So for electrical they can go for industrial safety. They can go for a monitoring system, condition monitoring system. So that are the best option for diploma for an electrical engineer.
Okay, thank you. Last question that we are taking up: how the future will be for MTech mechanical candidates in India? Now the person is working at Dubai. Now he wanted to come to India. How his future will be? Is it right decision to come to India? Amio, can you answer that question? Any idea about that? Yeah.
Yeah, if he's working in Dubai, then I think UPS and other colleges have online classes of taking MTech, and MTech has a great future in India. I myself is an MTech, and yeah, but coming to India at this stage, it's dangerous. So I will suggest that if you are in Dubai right now, then don't come. Prefer online mode, online classes. I think our UPS is providing those. I think, and if in the future when things get better, you can come back to India anytime. Means it is India has a great scope of going ahead in the field of manufacturing, robotics, and automation. So yeah, you can come back if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are done with this one. Kajol, can you come in and conclude the session?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are done.